Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the People come for the free beer, and they stay because they're too polite to leave. Tonight's show is the November edition of Funny About Cats, with your host, Phil van Hest.
Not a plant. That was very good. He was a ringer. That was like bringing Darryl Strawberry to the company softball game. That was unfair. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi. In case you hadn't noticed, I am wearing a cable knit sweater and very excited about today's show because the subject of tonight's program is something that has been near and dear to my heart for many years. The subject of tonight's show is me. And I was thinking a lot about me while I was thinking about myself, and I realized that the best way to learn about a subject like me is to teach someone else about it. Which brings us to actually the second subject of tonight's program, education. And since the best way to teach someone about a subject that you are fond of is to... What did I just say? Yes, good. I'm going to teach you a little bit about me by providing a presentation. Does that sound all right? What is funnier than a PowerPoint presentation? Not much. So I'll present to you today Phil versus Pants, a life. Now, I've had the good fortune to meet and get to know a lot of you, and pretty much everyone that I have met in Indianapolis, I have met through the Indy Fringe. And some of you perhaps remember my show this summer, Mother Banking Bank Holes. Now, I toured that show from July through September, and in my final show, 6 days after my final show in Chicago, the Occupy Wall Street movement started. And I'm not claiming that I was the spark that began this global movement, but when I'm 82, I probably will be. And very much believing it. So no one has ever asked me what inspired the show Mother Banking Bank Holes, since it's kind of written right into the title. But since tonight's show is about me, I'm going to pretend that you want to know, and I'm going to tell you that that entire show, Mother Banking Bank Holes, was inspired by one piece of bank advertising. This. And it took me a long time to really figure out what about this made me so angry. But it was like, it's like they have this service that tells you, like, okay, this lady is happy, right? She's looking into her phone, she's smiling, but what her phone is telling her is, "You're broke, bitch." Like, oh, thanks, Chase Bank. Guess I won't buy this apple now. I'm so glad I'm so poor all the time. My bank has a special service in place just to let me know. How did I become so indignant about class inequality? Well, like most idealistic progressives my age, I was born to wealthy graduate students in Santa Barbara, California. That's where all idealistic progressives come from, Santa Barbara, California. It was June. And my first 6 months of life were the last 6 months of the 70s. And like most men of that decade, I spent most of my time staring around as if the world was brand new and crapping my pants. 3 years later, my sister came along. As you can see here, I am really, really amused with myself because I just got her to eat a dog biscuit. Pretty sure that's what's happening in this photo. Despite my best efforts, she did grow up into a beautifully talented young lady. She's an actor in Hollywood. And I would like to stress that she is an actor, not an actress. There is no such fucking thing as an actress. There are no doctresses. There are no lawyerettes. And there are no actresses. The Academy and I the Academy and I have agreed to disagree. Then my mom got a job in Indonesia. Why not? And I immediately got a job wholesaling rattan furniture to a retailer in Jakarta. We had a maid, we had a cook, we had a nanny, we had a driver named Leo. There was some kid named Danny whose college tuition we were paying, and in exchange, he would cut our lawn with hedge clippers, because that's all we had. And like by the time he got to one end of the lawn, it was time to start over again. I attended an English-speaking school that was taught by the parents who weren't busy. It was like an expat kind of operation, 1st through 4th grade in the same room. And classroom subjects included shoe tying, time telling, and one very special chemistry class taught by my father that was specifically about the effects of heat on pancake batter, which is... The wisdom of that lesson is still something I apply to my everyday. Just wait till the bubbles pop, flip it over. Also, subsequent pancakes will cook faster than the initial pancake, so don't think they're all going to be as slow as that first one. You'll burn your biscuits. The only American culture that I was exposed to for 4 years in Indonesia was 1/2 hour of TV a day. The entire television network operation of Indonesia managed to broadcast 1/2 hour program a day, and they would choose one different American sitcom per year. So for one solid year, every was Small Wonder. This was a sitcom about a family that lived with an adorable cyborg. And for the next year, we had a 1/2 hour a day of Alf, which was about a family that lives with an argumentative Bigfoot midget alien of some kind. This was all I knew about America, and when I found out that we were moving to the United States, I got really excited about what kind of crazy roommate we were going to have. This was all I could conceive of. Actually, when we moved to Rhode Island in 1989, and the very first TV I saw was of the Berlin Wall coming down, and I thought, boring. However, inspired by the apparent victory of capitalism over communism, I went on to become the youngest used car salesman in the state of Rhode Island. Actually, I mostly ran home from the bus to avoid getting beat up. Rhode Island taught me that just because somebody is really stupid doesn't mean they appreciate it when you point it out to them. In Indonesia, we were really competitive about our learning, you know? So when I got to the States, the first thing I did was immediately crush all competition in the spelling bee. And I thought, now that I'm a spelling bee champion, surely this will assure my top-notch status in the social hierarchy. Mostly, and I should point out that I sounded like this when I was 13. And kids would run up to me like, spell frog. And I'd be like, frog, F-R-O-G, frog. I can't believe he did it. And I went home and thought, what strange customs this new country of mine. So then the junior high gave out this advanced placement math test just to see where everyone was. And I got 17 out of 40 multiple choice questions right, which is slightly better than guessing, but nobody in the entire school did better than me at all. So I was given an award, and the principal gave me $15, which I judiciously spent on select candies. And then, since I was a high achiever in math, I was allowed to work in my own special book, separate from the rest of the class, at my own speed, which means that to this day I do not know how to do long division or what fractions really are. Probably the only reason that I'm even alive today is because my mom got accepted to a PhD program in Davis, California, and off we went. I graduated from high school in 1997. And after graduation, I immediately began looking around for colleges where I could major in being a cocky big mouth. And I did really well at being a rampant egomaniac in UC Santa Cruz, the University of California, Santa Cruz. I did a little too well at being cocky at Santa Cruz. Some people will tell you that I got kicked out of UC Santa Cruz, but that is not true. I did not get kicked out. I was told I could not return, and there is a special legal difference, which someday will be the subject of another program. Meanwhile, I finished college at Long Beach State in California, and from what I recall of my college experience, it was a lot like this. In case you're ever wondering what a bachelor's degree in theater arts looks like, that's it. So after college, I joined a clown gang and got a job with the Renaissance Fair. And Pat, I'm not sure if any of the photos from the Renaissance Fair are actually suitable for public viewing at all. I don't know if we have any. Oh, well, that's cute. Okay. That's a door. Look at that. Oh, okay. Go back to the other. Oh, okay. So, it was that show that I was doing there, which actually brought me to Indy Fringe in 2005. It was my first time to Indianapolis, and I will admit that my first thoughts about this city was, downtown smells really bad. In Indianapolis's defense, it had just rained. Does anyone remember that show, Testicles and the Sack of Rome? That show answered the question, can a penis joke last for 45 full minutes? Yes. Yes, it can. From the 3.5 years that I spent touring around the country during that show, I learned that iced tea always tastes better when it's strained through someone's panties. Trolls are real, and having syphilis does not make your historical reenacting more hardcore. Common misconception. I lived in Los Angeles for 9 years while I was doing that, and I learned a lot on the streets of Los Angeles, like Spanish, for example, which helped me to discover that you are, in fact, not supposed to fire your guns in the air on New Year's, which is counterintuitive. But apparently you're not supposed to do it. Every year, a certain number of people die from what the LAPD terms jubilant gunfire. A worthy tombstone for anyone. Sure. So I met my special lady friend Noelle while I was living in Los Angeles, and the two of us loved each other too much to let ourselves stay there. We shared a mutual fondness for art, the outdoors, gardening, and Star Trek. Quality program. In a mere 2.5 years, that young lady turned me from this guy into the man that you know of as Phil today. Before we could move here from Los Angeles, I had to quit my government job, which was teaching shop at a university theater department. Yes, I was a government employee for 3 years, despite the fact that this forgotten picture had remained on MySpace for the entire time. You know, someone stole the only copy of that photo I have, and I was visiting my friend Tiffany in New York, and we found the other one, and I was so thrilled that we had to go scan it immediately so I didn't lose it again. And her roommate had the scanner, and I never met the roommate before, so it was a little awkward, you know. And but she did it. She was game, you know. And then I was like, oh, okay, I need to upload one to the internet immediately, so can we put a box over the thing? And she's like, oh yeah, no problem. And I said, okay, great. And I had just seen Borat, so then I said, could you make it a little bigger? And this roommate lady who I had never seen before in my life kind of looks up at me and goes, okay. But then she doesn't start making another square black box. She like goes up to effects and Photoshop, and she goes to liquify, and then she starts like making my penis longer. And I was like, no, the box, just the, I mean, thank you, but, oh, what a laugh we had. So I put in my resignation to my government job, and after 3 years of working there, after 3 years of no incident whatsoever, in the final 20 minutes of my final day, while putting away a piece of lumber, I got a splinter in my eye, and we didn't have an eye wash station, so I spent 5 hours in the ER. It was probably the universe getting back at me for making my final day of work April 1st. We'll just see who the joke is on. So when I show people this picture, I tell them that the school that I work for regularly harvests the staff tears for use in the tenured faculty aquariums. So that school was a total joke, and it wasn't alone. I mean, schools like all over the country, this is a problem. And in California, people seem to have lost track of what a school actually is. In my old neighborhood in Los Feliz, there is this school, and it had this poster was out in front of the school. And this is not a slogan. This is the word. That is the definition of a school. That is not a slogan for the school. Like, how did the conversations with parents go who are moving into the neighborhood? So we're looking around at schools. Can you tell us anything about yours? Well, at our school, children and learning come first. Right, because you're a school. So everyone seems to be more and more aware of what an educational crisis is looming in this country, and not just this country, but this state as well. Over the last few years, officials in Indiana have become more and more vocal about what they refer to as brain drain. Now, this is a chronic condition, and it implies that anyone who is smart enough to leave Indiana does. To fight this problem, a system of series-wide reforms have been launched. Starting effective, I believe, a month ago, no children in the state of Indiana will be educated at all. This will prevent them from being able to leave. There's also talk in legislative branches about changing the state motto from the Crossroads of America, which kind of implies that this is just a place to be passed through on your way somewhere else. So we're going to change it to something a little more sedentary, like Indiana, the cul-de-sac of America. The program did start in full effect when school districts began cutting school buses from their budgets, which is great. I mean, when you think school, do you think bus? No, that doesn't even make sense. It's going to be hard for the kids to learn if they can't even get to school, so we're already ahead of track here. An official who has reached for comment about how kids were supposed to get to school said they'll have to race to the top. And on the plus side, now getting to school will count as gym class. And the kids can play dodge traffic. There's a lot of debate and conversation about which is better, IPS, state schools, charter schools, magnet schools, although pretty much everyone agrees the major statistic that IPS always leads in is poverty. 60% of the kids in this state cannot read at a 4th grade level. Oh, yeah. The good news is, really, kind of most other states in the nation are in the exact same boat. So really, Indiana's not that bad. It's just a couple points off of the average. And how are we going to help? How are we going to fix this? There are some easy, very affordable ways to raise literacy rates. For example, reading to kids helps. Just reading to them. Research shows if you talk to your baby like it's a normal human being instead of oogie-boogieing at it, it will develop language skills much faster, and that is why I have invented this it's a linguistic enhancement device. I think it will really help the next generation of babies with their language skills. It's been for sale on the internet for about 3 years. I've almost sold one a couple of times now. If people can't read, the whole world stops making sense. People who can't read will never know how funny it is that the city of Los Angeles put this sign up on a playground and that nobody seemed to notice. The kids who can't read will never know the simple joy of this apartment building that I found in Culver City. The funny thing is there's no better way to crepey, crepi, there's crap eye. It's the crap eye apartments. Next door to the iCrap outhouse. So Indiana is not the only state struggling with education and money. The entire country seems to be losing track of the idea that democracy requires an educated public. And clearly democracy is endangered. Why else would we need a national center to preserve it? The more I learn about the state of education in this country, the more and more I get pretty sure that I will be homeschooling my kids. God forbid I ever have any. My school will be open to the public, though, so you can send your kids my way. I feel like a lot of parents will want their kids to learn from this guy. I will be teaching fashion, writing, and how to make money without your pants on. I was hoping that would be a bigger laugh. Oh well. Thank you guys so much for sitting through my presentation. We will be back after the break with our special guest, Christina Lear, to talk to us about education and to promote her new book, Kids, the Assholes of Tomorrow. We'll be back after a break, ladies and gentlemen. What's funny about that? I'll see you at the bar.